Hey YouTube. So I'm gonna wait for some of y'all to join. How y'all doing? I pray that everybody is doing good and feeling blessed and all healthy and whatnot. So I'm just wait for some people to join. In the meantime, in between time, y'all know I got to get my atmosphere cleared and blessed. All right. So today, well, first of all, you guys, don't forget to look at the description box to see the dates. All right. Because all of the dates that I'm going to be doing today are listed in the description box. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. So, yes, let me just wait for people to fill the room. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching the video. I know some of you have to catch the replay, so thanks to those, and thanks to everyone who is sharing this information with other people who know other people born between these dates. Thank you guys, because by you guys doing that, you're helping me fulfill my purpose. And like I said in my last video that I did on here, I will read my life path for you all too. Hey girl, hey. So I'm starting off with the way of devotion. I had a few people who asked for theirs to be read, and I didn't read it yet, and a few of those people were on the path of devotion, so I'm going to read that first. Remember to check the description box for the dates. So I'm going to go ahead and get started reading the way of devotion. I'm going to share a few celebrities who were born on the way of devotion. So one of the celebrities is P. Diddy. Check P. Diddy out on him. P. Diddy. We got Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory was born on this path. Oh, you don't remember? Tell me your birth date, and then we can see. I think yours was Devotion or Innocence. It was one of them. August 14th, 1988. Yes, yours is the way of devotion. So yes, you right on time, girl, right on time. Yep, devotion. Yep, it is. So let me go ahead. So you already seen who's on your path. You seen P. Diddy's on this path. You seen Dick Gregory. Let's see who else is on here, because we even got Don King. Don King is on it. Who else? Some of these people, I don't know. But yeah. So those were a few people that we do know. So let me go ahead and get started for you. Turn the pages. Okay. Let me move this out the way. All right. So when you look at your birth chart, it should say that your north node is in Virgo. I mean, your south node is in Virgo and your north node in Pisces. Are you familiar with birth charts? So The path is going from enigma to a loner. Okay, you know about your chart. Awesome. I love when people know. Because then I don't have to explain nothing. You already know. So that's another plus. Yes. All right. So let me read. Let me turn this down a little bit. Okay. In some ways, the way of devotion is more of a calling than a karmic path. Those born to it must find someone or something to which they can devote their lives. I hope my friend gets on here because she's born to this path as well. Who else is on? You might be on this path. Who else is on here? Oh, girl, that 12th house, honey. That 12th house. Hey, what you said it was? Oh, your Lilith. Ooh. Yeah, I know about that life. I have a lot of 12th house placement, so I know about that life. But it says, those born to it must find someone or something to which they can devote their lives. Sacrifice is no stranger to those on this karmic path, since the devotion required of the individuals on it is uncompromising. I don't know what happened to my The men and women born to the way of devotion tend to be somewhat enigmatic and solitary. Loners, they are fond of puzzling over conundrums or philosophies at length. Sometimes this is merely their way of sorting through what matters to them. Soulful and sensitive, the men and women on this karmic path may have to search far and wide for the object of their devotion before they find it. Once they do, they will spend the rest of their lives giving themselves unselfishly to their personal divinity. All right, now. This can take many forms, and whether it be religion or devotion to a cause, an artistic muse, a principle, or another person, those born to the way of devotion must be resilient and courageous in their struggle to give their all to their choice. In addition, although they are some of the most solitary people in the grand cycle of life, their single-minded attention to their cause and their concentration of themselves to the task at hand will inspire others, who will shower them with admiration and crown them with a kind of iconic or larger-than-life persona, so that they often become public figures. Girl, you on your way to becoming a public figure? Oh, snap now. While the process involved in following all of the karmic paths in this volume is symbolic of the archeopal hero's journey, one often involving a quest, a loss, and redemption, more than any other, the way of devotion embodies this archetype. For the men and women on this karmic path, progress on this path usually begins as they embark on a spiritual search, often prompted by the sense that something is missing from their lives. This karmic journey can be likened to that of a Parsifal in his quest for the Holy Grail. He begins his journey seeking one thing, but the journey becomes the process, and in the end, he finds something quite different. So, one of the core lessons for the people on this path would be being able to hear what their hearts are telling them. So that is the core lesson. The goal for the people on the way of devotion would be to find a person, cause, principle, or deity to which they can unreservedly devote themselves. Any hero saga involves two essential elements. First, that the hero be unique among his peers in some way, and second, that he undergo a significant struggle, all the while exhibiting strength, courage, and conviction. Unusual individuals, those on the way of devotion, are well aware that they are different from those around them, and not uncommonly, they suffer social rejection at some point in their lives. Meanwhile, struggle is built into the life fabric of those on this karmic path. Not only coping with everyday exigencies, but also attempting to make sense of life itself is a constant occupation for these individuals. Luckily, those born to the way of devotion are born with highly discriminating minds that will help them make the right choices as they make their way through life. Some of the gifts for the people born to this path is that they are discriminating, sensitive, and humorous. Some of the pitfalls can be suffering, over exacting, and fantasy. They can be fantasy prone. So, luckily, those born to the way of devotion are born with highly discriminating minds that will help them make the right choices as they make their way through life. However, though discriminating can help them grapple with practicalities of existence, it cannot give them the answers that they are at bottom seeking. Only by recognizing and acknowledging what it is they love can those on this karmic path begin to apply the kind of devotion it calls for. Joseph Campbell wrote, "The hero is the man of self-achieved submission." Submission to what? One might ask. Answering this question is at the heart of the way of devotion. Ultimately, the answer should be something of higher value. The core lesson for those on this karmic path is to discover and devote themselves to their heart's desire. Born warriors, they will analyze and ponder any issue ad infinitum. Living in their heads prevents them from acknowledging the most important thing of all, what their hearts are telling them. Only there does the secret of their life path reside. No amount of mental gamesmanship will reveal it. These are individuals who prefer not to look too deeply within for fear of what they might find. But it is only through such a process and by acknowledging their true feelings that their path, their destiny, and their life's work will be revealed. The struggles required by this karmic path, both inward and outward, are considerable. Initially, the inward struggle will demand that those on this path live a very private, even reclusive life for a time. During this period, they will process their family of origin issues, re-examining childhood scripts that made them feel unwanted or unloved, learn to drop self-critical attitudes and free themselves of any negative thought patterns. Directing their energy toward inner psychological work and unraveling their personal problems can result in great self-knowledge. That is awesome. Oh, wow. Yes, I know that's right, girl. Where am I at? Their innate problem-solving ability will help them greatly in this phase of the journey. Once the inner journey has been initiated and an object of veneration settled upon, those on the way of devotion could begin to make forays into the outside world. It is important for them to do so, as they can easily become stuck in their inner lives. When they do emerge, it is usually only because they must do so if they are to give themselves wholly to their cause. Though even so, it is likely that they will walk a rather solitary road. No strangers to sacrifice. They may be required to give up a great deal for their higher calling. Positively, humor comes easily to these souls and will be quite a comfort on this journey. Particularly during times of suffering, those on this karmic path know something about pain. This instills in them tremendous empathy for the suffering of others and is the reason so many of them are found, are found serving the less fortunate or inspiring compassion in others. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. The main pitfall for those on the way of devotion is that an experience of suffering may devolve into self pity. Less evolved souls risk becoming mirrored in this type of self centeredness. Keeping a positive attitude and utilizing humor to lift one's spirit whenever possible are crucial. So, what those on the way of devotion must release is the tendency to self pity. The reward by them doing this is the joy of following their heart. Wow. Often, those on this karmic path are viewed by many as mysterious or as dreamers. Most people can't quite figure them out. Thus, others often project larger than life qualities onto them. Moreover, because the way of devotion is so closely aligned to the archetypal hero's journey, those who successfully navigate this karmic path often take on such mythic proportions in the minds of others that they come to be viewed as heroes themselves. What's more, this role of icon is not an entirely comfortable one for them. They never feel part of the mainstream, and though they will grudgingly accept the type of hero worship that is directed toward them, will tend to keep themselves aloof and withdrawn interpersonally. Thus, friendships and a job that brings them into contact with their fellow human being in more intimate ways can be an extreme importance to maintaining a healthy balance between their spiritual and more worldly concerns. They are born, however, with a certain tendency toward guardedness and mistrust, and should and should these gain the upper hand, they may be hopelessly precluded from normal social interaction. Hi guys. Hey, how y'all doing? Right now I'm reading The Way of Devotion. All right. So I want you guys to check the description box for your for the dates to see if you were born through any of these dates. So I'm starting off with The Way of Devotion, and then I'm going to go into The Way of Innocence, and then I'm going to go into The Way of Modulation. So I had a few people who have been waiting from the last time that I did this. And so I'm going ahead and reading it for those people. Hey, Queen B. So 7/19/75. When I get finished, I'm going to check that out and see. But definitely check the description box to see if you were born on any of those dates. So where was I at? They are born, however, with a certain tendency toward guardedness and mistrust, and should these gain the upper hand, they may be hopelessly precluded from normal social interaction. Friends and lovers of those on the way of devotion can attest to their capacity for intimacy and the affection they are capable of lavishing on those they care for. Since in more personal relations, their devoted nature takes on a particularly beautiful form. However, sacrifice is part of this karmic path, and nothing pains those born to it more than the need to put their cause, religion, or principles above their personal needs and the needs of others. So some of the suggestions for the people who are on this path is to avoid worry, learn to relax and let things be. Pay attention to your feelings and acknowledge your mission. So those on this path have to find someone or something to devote their lives to. Wow. Love affairs, marriages, and friendships that end in this way leave them deeply hurt and are likely to create a resolve not to get involved again at such a profound level, if only to protect those they love. They may come to rely heavily on parents, siblings, and other relatives to supply the affection and emotional support they so desperately crave. On rare occasions, those on the way of devotion will find their lives dedicated to another human being such as when a spouse, child, or other family member suffers from a major illness or debilitating physical condition. Sometimes those on this karmic path will devote themselves to furthering the career or life purpose of another. Care should be taken to determine whether such a situation is a true calling or simply an unnecessary sacrifice of self. Those on the way of devotion are not unlike Theseus, Prince of Athens and a hero of Greek mythology, who had to go into the Cretan labyrinth to face the Minotaur, much as those on this karmic path must face the puzzle of their own psyche and the monster that resides therein. With the help of Ariadne, Theseus escaped from the labyrinth, but he was forced to sacrifice his life for her as he continued on his quest. Theseus became known for fighting for democracy and against injustice, and ultimately, through his devotion to his cause, united the city-states around Athens into a democratic union. Oh, wow. That's interesting. So, the crystal that is recommended for the people on the path of the way of devotion is sugarlight. And sugarlight connects individuals to their reason for existence and supports the feelings of having a mission. This stone reveals methods of embodying the divine in human form. So if you want to know how to spell sugarlight, sugarlight. Thank you guys for liking and thank you guys for joining. I know some people are at work, so they're going to have to catch the replay, but it's all good. So before you guys got on here, I was showing one of the people who are on this path, some of the celebrities that are on this path. And those celebrities are, we got Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory is on this path. We got P. Diddy. P. Diddy, he's on this path as well. Oh, you're welcome, Queen B. Thank you for tuning in. And then who else do we have? We even had Don King, who's on this path too. Don King. So that's pretty interesting. But that was it as far as the people on the path of devotion. So the next one I'm getting ready to do is, oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, that was it. I read everything. So the next one I'm going to do is the way of innocence. And the way of innocence is on page 540. 540. And some of the celebrities born on this particular path. We got Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson, she was born on this path. Check her out. We got and Frank. We even got Mike Tyson. So Mike Tyson, he was born on the way of innocence. And who else is on here? Okay, Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler, he was born on the path of innocence. Meatloaf. We even got Stephen King. Stephen King was born on this path. Hillary Clinton. All right, so let me get started. So the path that I'm getting ready to read is the way of innocence. So the people who are born on this particular path, when you look at your birth chart, your south node should be in Scorpio and your north node should be in Taurus. You're going from charm to the natural. Charm to the natural. All right, let's get started. Let's see what they have to deal with. Those individuals born on the way of innocence are here to drop the facade of their public persona in favor of a pure, ineffectual. Child, let me slow down. Those individuals born of the way of innocence are here to drop the facade of their public persona in favor of a pure, unaffected approach to life, one where they express themselves as naturally and directly as possible. Born with an innate belief that they are unworthy of love, those on this path grapple with the fear of revealing their true selves to others. Adept at artfulness and getting what they want and need through non direct means, they are extremely charming, albeit determined individuals, often subjected to undue criticisms and unfair assessments of their characters. Those on the way of innocence have learned to shield themselves from hurt by being guarded and secretive. As they overcome their feelings of unworthiness and learn to trust in a higher power to protect them, those on this path can begin to reveal who they are to the world. Becoming more colorful and fun loving, these men and women will surprise others as they adopt a devil may care attitude, returning to a more innocent way of being in the world with a more spontaneous expression of their creativity and zest for life. The men and women on this path will discover that they serve as an inspiration to many. The most significant and difficult problem that must be overcome by those on the way of innocence is the fear of being themselves. Well, I can kind of see that a little bit in Mike Tyson. Somewhere, the men and women on this karmic path have been given the impression that they are scary or unappealing individuals. In essence, that they are unlovable. They respond to this deep seated message by hiding behind facades, rather serious and controlled ones at that. Born psychologists, the men and women of the way of innocence possess a deep understanding of the human condition and its capacity for both good and evil. In part because of this understanding, and in part due to actual experience, they are all too aware of the dangers of opening themselves up, only to be misused or mistreated. So, one of the core lessons for the people born to the way of innocence is that is trusting that there is an abundance of love and life. And the goal for these people would be becoming more aligned with their own energies and being more direct. Mm. Wow, ain't that something? I see you, spirit, fo. So let me read that sentence one more time so we can get back on track. In part because of this understanding, and in part due to actual experience, they are all too aware of the dangers of opening themselves up, only to be misused or mistreated. Thus, they tend to be reserved, except with a select group of trusted intimates. Unfortunately, it seems to be the fate of these individuals to encounter quite a bit of criticism from those outside their intimate circles. As closed as they are, they become much like blank screens on which others project their worst characterizations. At times, they might feel like carrion that vultures are picking apart. This, of course, only reinforces their belief that they are unlovable and that the world is a dangerous and threatening place. Though they would never reveal it, the men and women on the way of innocence take the hurt and criticism inflicted on them very hard. It is a testament to their capacity for self control that most people rarely understand this about them. Their dignity is important to them, and they would never compromise it. Often, those on this path try to prove that they are worthy of love by working very, very hard to get others to like them. The upside of this is that in the process, they learn how to capitalize on their innate charm. They rarely ask for anything directly, not only because in their hearts they believe that they deserve to receive it, but for fear that by asking for what they need, they will reveal too much about themselves, only to be rejected. Thus, they are masters at backdoor politics, getting what they want by any means other than being direct. To describe them as manipulative is a tad strong, since it implies a lack of fairness or ethic. Actually, these individuals possess a highly refined sense of justice. They are just artful. People would want them on their side, using their charm to get what they want. Their determination is legendary. They fight for the underdog or disadvantaged, both because they are highly empathetic and also because subconsciously it is a veiled attempt to be loved for their good works. Though they attempt to manage and control their environments, it is only because they are afraid that if they do not, who they are and what really matters to them will not only be found out, but will be trampled on. The core lesson for those on the way of innocence is to recreate a rather childlike trust in the process of life and its abundance of love for all. Transforming their view of the world will be no easy matter, but well worth the effort. Approaching life in a trusting rather than mistrusting way will open up their lives and broaden their horizons immeasurably. If they can learn to trust themselves or something greater than themselves to catch them when they fall, the men and women here will free their own energies rather than keeping them stuffed inside or masked in some way. They will begin to feel that it is safe to show who they are to the world. As their self control starts to break up and wash away, so too will their reliance on controlling others or maneuvering to achieve their aims or to ensure the psychological or emotional safety of themselves or loved ones. Adopting a completely natural approach to themselves and life is the destiny of the individuals on the way of innocence. Nature is the perfect symbol for this path, since most natural phenomena operate only according to innate patterns. Similarly, the way of innocence calls those born to it to listen only to the truth at their own cores. What creates the turning points in the lives of such individuals? Sometimes this occurs only when the men and women on this path have confronted the worst kinds of rejection. Suddenly, they realize that no matter what they do, they can't make others approve of them or love them. Thus, they come to the conclusion that they may as well just be themselves and start having some fun. So, for the people who are on the way of innocence, what needs to be released from them is the fear of disapproval, and the reward will be the joy of answering only to themselves. Oh, wow. So you're on this path, Cynthia? Okay, I didn't know that. Thus, they come to the conclusion that they may as well just be themselves and start having some fun. Often, this happens at midlife, but if they are fortunate, it can occur in adolescence or in the early 20s as well. Finally, freeing themselves from trying to please or charm everyone and do the right thing, those on the way of innocence begin to process of uncovering and rediscovering their energies and abilities. One pitfall is that in the joy and relief of asserting their true selves and dropping their facades, however you say that word, they may go overboard and throw all caution to the winds, becoming wild and rebellious even beyond the normal bounds set by society. Thus, the most successful individuals on this karmic path will melt their newfound sense of self with some of the old control. The recovery of lost innocence is marvelous to behold and can only be likened to Adam and Eve returning to the garden. There's the feeling of springtime about the process as hope returns. When they align their energies with the goal of this karmic path, the men and women on the way of innocence, become much more colorful, both in attitude and appearance. Drab or conservative clothing will be replaced with bright colors and more fashionable attire. They will begin to have more fun, and a zaniest or scathing humor emerges in them. Their masks are shed like old clothes, and they stand naked and very beautiful before the audience. And the audience roars its approval. Suddenly, the world wants what these individuals have to offer. Having let go of the need for approval, they discover that people suddenly seem to adore them. Innocence can be very beguiling, and those on this path aren't apt to ignore this or fail to work it just a little. The men and women on this karmic path will happily share the appeal of their innocence with the world, not as an act of manipulation, but as a gift to others. Because in so doing, they are also celebrating the courage, strength, and fortitude that they discovered in themselves to find a more honest way of being. So, the suggestion for the people on this path, okay, yes, that's so true. So, the suggestion for the people on this path is to confront the fear of rejection, be aware of how indirect you can be, try to become more attuned to nature's rhythms, temper imagination with practicality, and splash some color into your life. Now I got to find where I was at. Okay. Despite having been through so much themselves, their depth is such that they will always wish to help others, especially if it is to offer hope. Hope springs eternal. It's the message those on this path offer the rest of us. Relationships may change radically for those on this path, some for the better. Changes in attitude, dress, and behavior may convince friends and family alike that such individuals may be ruining their lives. Threatened loved ones may place the blame on the change on someone outside the family circle. Usually, however, the change occurs within those born on this path, who then find themselves increasingly attracted to the new, more unusual individuals. On the other hand, a mate who has had difficulty coping with the controlling nature of those on this path may experience great relief and joy when his or her spouse opens up to a more natural, fun loving way of life. The blossoming of a stagnant marriage is not at all uncommon here. Even at an advanced age, friends usually weather such transformations more easily and are able to adjust to them with fewer problems. An image that represents this karmic path may be that of a trustworthy servant who has functioned perfectly for many years in a charming manner, quietly accomplishing his tasks and doing everything required of him. At some point, the individual decides to doff his uniform, don clothing more conducive to a free and independent lifestyle, and make his own way in the world as a freely functioning individual. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, the crystal recommended for those who are on this path is, guess what? Angelite. Angelite. Angelite connects the individual to realms of unconditional love, allaying fears of rejection. This stone frees the heart to express inner truths with childlike joy and innocence. Angelite. So that was for the people born under the way of innocence. And the next one I'm going to read, which will be the last one that I'm going to read. And hold on, Queen B, let me see your path real quick. Because you said you was born in 75, 1975. Okay, let me see. Let me check you out real quick, Queen B. 719. Reform. Hold on, let me look at that one more time. Make sure I got the right one. Yeah. 1975. Yeah. So Queen B, your path is the way of reform. And I'm going to be reading that. I'm going to let you know when I'm going to read it because I have a few other people who were born on that path too. I might end up reading that one tomorrow. So remember, Queen B, that yours is reform. So the last one that I'm getting ready to read for today is the way of modulation. And some of the celebrities that were born on this particular path, you got Mark Twain. Mark Twain, he was born on this path. You're welcome, Cynthia. We got, I'm trying to find some people we know. Well, y'all might know them, but I don't know. I know who Mark Twain is. Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on the way of modulation. The way of modulation. South Node, North Node in Cancer, and South Node in Capricorn. Okay. And then let's see who else. I think, didn't I do yours, Miss NYC? Another person that was born on the path of modulation is Chris Rock. Chris Rock was born on this path as well. And that's it. So let me go ahead and get started. And again, this is the way of modulation. And so these people, their South Node is on the cusp of Scorpio and Sagittarius. And their North Node is on the cusp of Taurus and Gemini. They're going from revolution to energy. And their core lesson is slowing down and steadying their energies. Their goal is to cultivate the patience to work with the information before them. So that's theirs right there. You said yours is 24/11/24/63. Yeah, I think I did yours already, Miss NYC. Yeah, yours was the path of originality. Yeah, yours is reform, Queen B. So remember, reform is yours, Queen B. But Miss NYC, yeah, I did yours last week. It was the path of originality. All right, let me get back to the way of modulation. So we got Martin Luther King Jr., we got Chris Rock, and we got somebody else I said who was born on this particular path. So let's see what this is about. Oh, they called them feisty. The feisty fighters who tread the way of modulation are here in this lifetime to learn to curb their rebellious impulses and steady their energies. Imbued with a passionate brand of inspiration, those on this path must learn how to harness it to maximum effect. Wrapped up in broad philosophies and big ideas, these individuals must move toward a greater focus on the details, since their ultimate success lies in how they evaluate and present information. I could definitely see that in Martin Luther King for him to be on this path. Gifted with restless, active minds, the individuals on the way of modulation tend to burn out easily, never accomplishing what they set out to do. They must learn to cultivate patience and to modulate their energies by slowing down and embracing the present rather than chasing after the past or what may lie ahead. Expansive individuals, those on this path, will learn to harmonize their energies and, in doing, will have a thing or two to teach the world about compromise. Wow. I definitely can see those traits in some of the people, some of the celebrities that are on this path. The individuals on the way of modulation are destined to decimate ideas and data in one form or another. Mentally agile individuals, they possess the quickness of mind to channel information to a broader audience, whether through speaking, writing, or any media format. In fact, they may be wonderful storytellers with a gift for the art of narrative. They are oriented towards spiritual ideas and broad philosophies, often searching for truth and justice. Passionate individuals, they yearn for a better world and they are often willing to fight for it. I definitely could see that too. All too aware of problems. Their responses to what they see is a desire to overturn it, change it, or fix it. Oh my gosh. When I tell y'all, for them to say Martin Luther King Jr. is on this path, I can definitely see all of that in him. Wow. Often rebels or iconoclasts, their personalities are tumultuous, ranging from stubborn resistance to change to a desire to topple the existing order, caring little what is destroyed in the process. Their great gift is the dynamo-like energy that pushes them forward. Unfortunately, this intensity is not often regulated in a productive way. Their interests are eclectic, and they can fly every which way without accomplishing anything. Burning as brightly as they do, they burn out quite easily. The individuals on this path are easily bored and rarely satisfied with whatever is going on in the moment. Because they are apt to chuck what they are doing to rush off in search of the next, latest thing, never leaving their marks anywhere, career success may elude them despite their high aspirations. They may tend to leave things unfinished as they flit from one cause or hobby to another, only to drop it as they chase the next butterfly. Also, their work may be sloppy since they tend not to check facts or double check data. The core lesson for those on the way of modulation is to steady and regulate their own energies as well as their thinking. Slowing down and modulating emotional swings are crucial for any kind of achievement on this path. As simple as it sounds, these people need to stop and think before they act or speak, particularly since Being combative types, they tend to overreact and often vengefully. Tending to put their all into something, they often end up short of energy or interest when the time comes to finish what they started. Their dynamic energy is their gift, a font of endless inspiration for them. If they could only learn how to modulate their energy flow and focus, much like water or electricity, they would avoid getting bogged down in fruitless struggles and start to call upon this source at will, directing it to the successful achievement of a variety of goals. Restless souls, the individuals on the way of modulation, always seem to want more. This expansiveness and thirst for more input or ever larger plans and goals can be quite wearing on themselves and others. Part of the journey for those on the way of modulation is to develop more patience, apt to be either forward seeking or backward looking. Too often, these individuals overlook what's right in front of their noses. It is important for them to practice taking the time to fully evaluate and understand the information, data, or input before them. Not only will making peace with what is in the present moment make them happier, it will cause them to become more observant and oriented toward facts as opposed to simply ideas. Gathering information in the right way will enable them to present it most effectively as well. Moreover, given that the men and women on this path are often overly focused on the big picture with big ideas in mind, they can make a they can be a bit judgmental. So some of the gifts for the people who are on this path is that they are inspired, expressive, and versatile. But the pitfalls for the people who are on this path is that they can be superficial, rebellious, and Dilettantish. I mean SH. Dilettantish. I don't know how to say that. What you said? Oh, okay. Okay, Miss NYC. I got you. Alrighty. Hold on. Where was I at, y'all? Now I totally lost my place now. I'm just going to start right here. Tending to put all their energy into something, they often end up short of energy or interest when the time comes to finish what they started. Their dynamic energy is their gift, a font of endless inspiration for them. If they could only learn how to modulate their energy flow and focus, much like water or electricity, they would avoid getting bogged down in fruitless struggles and start to call upon this source at will, directing it to the successful achievement of a variety of goals. Restless souls, the individuals on the way of modulation, always seem to want more. This expansiveness and thirst for more input or ever larger plans and goals can be quite wearing on themselves and others. Part of the journey for those on the way of modulation is to develop more patience, apt to be either forward seeking or backward looking. Too often, these individuals overlook what's right in front of their noses. It is important for them to practice taking the time to fully evaluate and understand the information, data, or input before them. Not only will making peace with what is present Not only will making peace with what is in the present moment make them happier, it will cause them to become more observant and oriented toward facts of opposed to simply ideas. Gathering information in the right way will enable them to present it most effectively as well. Moreover, given that the men and women on this path are often overly focused on the big picture with big ideas in mind, they can be a bit judgmental. Okay, that's where I was at. I done read the whole paragraph all over again. Anyway, developing more acceptance of the way things are wouldn't hurt them. It might even serve to temper their hunger for ever new forms of experience. On the way of modulation, these men and women may discover that taking a different route to the office can be just as fulfilling a new experience as jumping on a plane to join a protest in Paris. There is need to create harmony here in the sense of a pleasing or sympathetic arrangement or presentation of ideas and facts. Data is just data until you do something creative with it. Thus, how information is presented and expressed is important on this path. The individuals here are destined to learn how to package information as attractively as possible, how to give it grace and beauty and form, how to make it say something. Rather than inflicting their ideas fractiously and forcefully on others, the men and women on the way of modulation will learn how to put forth their thoughts without putting off their audience. Music, singing, chanting, or speaking may be particularly important for those on this path as a means of communicating. Learning how to modulate their voices for maximum effect will also be important. Harmony is a theme on the way of modulation for other reasons too. Having learned how to modulate a variety of divergent energies within themselves, those on this path may become adept at handling such energies in their environments. Combined with a talent for assessing large amounts of information, they may find themselves later in life acting in the role of moderator. So the suggestions for the people who are on this path is to learn to empty now and then. Practice stopping and thinking about what you are doing and saying at regular intervals. Cultivate patience for what's in front of you. So that is a suggestion for the people who are on the way of modulation. Encouraging negotiation and compromise, the men and women on this path may find themselves engineering peaceful resolutions to conflict. This talent comes from hard-won experience. Wow. So y'all know how Martin Luther King was all about his peaceful protests? Like, wow, like this book about destiny is really, really something. It really shows you a lot about yourself, your path, what you are to learn, what you are to grow into. I really like this book. Born feisty, the individuals on this journey have to learn to walk away from a fight. Wow. Those born on the way of modulation may one day be called to promote harmony by teaching others how to temper combative tendencies and express their views in a moderate yet effective manner. Wow. People may view those on this karmic path as aloof and in some ways unapproachable, despite their considerable magnetism and charm, since they tend to fly off on a moment's notice or are often wrapped up in their own thoughts. Learning to release such exclusiveness and simply to slow down will be essential to their business and social lives. However, as they progress on this path, they will be more patient with people, more present, and will put greater effort into harmonious relationships with others. They will always be somewhat mercurial by nature and will discover that loved ones, not to mention business associates and clients, will seem to need more of their time than they are prepared to give. Alternatively, others on the way of modulation may fritter their energy away on too many involvements or idle pursuits. Thus, monitoring and adjusting the energy given to relationships will also be required here, if they are to find the middle ground between the extremes of selfishness and altruism. Although those on this path may be most comfortable with just a few deep, intimate relationships, they seem destined to be surrounded by a variety of more superficial ones. Tending as they do to think the grass is always greener on the other side, the men and women on the way of modulation may be hard pressed to stick to one partner. Commitment is not their forte. A problem for them may be promiscuity, particularly given their passionate nature. However, a stable family life is often the best form of grounding for these individuals. Even those who have a secret life away from their families will always depend heavily on them to provide the steadiness they so sorely need. These individuals should be encouraged to enroll in some type of former higher education. Despite the fact that those on the way of moderation may feel the urge to rebel against authority and quit school to focus their energies on immediate social advancement or financial gain, it would be best if they took advantage of opportunities to sample a variety of philosophical, technical, or artistic pursuits. Going to a university, attending a community college, or simply taking a few adult education courses will also teach those on this path different methods of presenting information while holding them to exacting and rigorous standards for fact checking and attribution of sources. In terms of imagery, one could compare the process of this path to the workings of a series of canal locks that join bodies of water that are at two different levels. But constructively connecting the two, the locks permit boats to travel to areas that they would otherwise be unable to reach. In this extremely practical enterprise, however, patience is important. Raising and lowering the water level can be a very slow and deliberate process. Wow. I know, right? Like, all I can say right now is wow. So, the crystal that is recommended for the people who are on this particular path is Steelbite. Steelbite holds a focused energy that assists the individual to harness the exuberance of creativity while honoring the present. This mineral guides one to witness the miracle in the moment. So, who they said was on this path? Martin Luther King. I think Chris Rock. Did they say Chris Rock? Or was he on the other one I did? Yes, Chris Rock. I can kind of see some of this in him too. Wow, like that is something. But yes, this is the crystal that's recommended for those on this path. Steel bite or style bite, however you say it. But wow. So thank you guys so much for rocking out with me all this time, allowing me to read this for y'all. Thank you to everybody that watches the replay. I'm going to continue this tomorrow. I would definitely, Queen B, I would definitely make sure that I do the Way of Reform tomorrow. And once I finish these destiny readings, I'm going to get started on my May overviews. Okay, guys? So I will have the overviews out, and y'all know how I like to do those. I like to pair those up by the elements. So fire signs, water signs, earth signs, and air signs. Those overviews will be out probably sometime next week once I get finished with these destiny readings. But thank y'all so much for tuning in and riding with me all this time. Thank y'all for y'all continuous support. I really appreciate it. Okay, ain't it though, Miss NYC? Like, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Talk about some accurate readings of destinies here. But thank you guys so much. I'll be back tomorrow, the same time, 11:30. I'll be back. I'm trying to do it earlier now because I don't want it to get too close to the time that I have to go pick my kids up. So I'm coming on a little earlier, but I definitely thank y'all for tuning in, and I'm going to catch y'all tomorrow. Peace, love, and light to y'all. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. I shared this book with my mom, and she was just like, oh my gosh, Quana, thank you so much for sharing this book with me. She was like, girl, you don't open my eyes to so much. So I just thank y'all for even tuning in, because, you know, a lot of people don't want to sit around and hear nobody read, but but y'all been rocking with me, so thank y'all. And I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Peace, love, and light.